The Mona Lisa is a half-length portrait painting by the Italian artist Leonardo da Vinci, widely considered a masterpiece of the Italian Renaissance. The painting resides at the Louvre Museum in Paris and is renowned for its enigmatic subject's expression, the composition's monumentality, the subtle modeling of forms, and the atmospheric illusionism. The painting's title, Mona Lisa, is based on the belief that it depicts Lisa del Giocondo, though her likeness is uncertain. Giorgio Vasari, a Renaissance art historian, wrote that Leonardo undertook the painting for Francesco del Giocondo, Lisa's husband. Mona is a shortened, polite form of address in Italian similar to ma'am or madam in English. Lisa del Giocondo was a member of the Gherardini family of Florence and Tuscany and the wife of a wealthy Florentine silk merchant, Francesco del Giocondo. It is thought that the painting was commissioned to celebrate the birth of their second son, Andrea, and for their new home. The Italian name for the painting, La Gioconda, means jocund or jovial, and is a pun on the feminine form of Lisa's married name. Vasari's biography of Leonardo, published in 1550, is the primary source of information regarding the painting's origin and the sitter's identity. Leonardo's assistant, Salai, owned a portrait named La Gioconda at his death in 1524, which was bequeathed to him by Leonardo. In 2005, a scholar discovered a marginal note in a printing of a volume by Cicero at Heidelberg University. This note, written by Agostino Vespucci, a contemporary of Leonardo, confirms that Leonardo was working on a portrait of Lisa del Giocondo in October 1503. The note compares Leonardo to the renowned Greek painter Apelles and states that Leonardo was working on Lisa del Giocondo's painting at the time. While this confirms that Leonardo painted Lisa del Giocondo, it doesn't conclusively prove that the Louvre's painting is that portrait. The catalog Raisonné Leonardo da Vinci, 2019, confirms that the painting likely depicts Lisa del Giocondo. The only other plausible alternative is Isabella d'Este. Other scholars have proposed alternative views, arguing that Lisa del Giocondo was the subject of a different portrait and identifying at least 4 other paintings referred to by Vasari as the Mona Lisa. Several other individuals have been suggested as possible subjects for the painting, including Isabella of Aragon, Cecilia Gallerani, Costanza Diavolos, Pacifica Brandano, Isabella Gualanda, Caterina Sforza, Bianca Giovanna Sforza, Salai, and even Leonardo himself. Sigmund Freud, the psychoanalyst, theorized that Leonardo transferred an approving smile from his mother, Caterina, onto the Mona Lisa and other works. The Mona Lisa shares a strong resemblance with many Renaissance depictions of the Virgin Mary, who was considered the ideal of womanhood at the time. The woman sits upright in a pozzetto armchair, arms folded, signifying a reserved posture. Her gaze is fixed on the observer. The woman appears unusually lifelike, which Leonardo achieved by his technique of not drawing outlines. The soft blending sfumato creates an ambiguous mood, particularly in the corners of the mouth and eyes. The sitter's three-quarter profile depiction is similar to works by Lorenzo di Credi and Agnolo di Domenico del Maziere from the late 15th century. Art historian Frank Zollner notes that the sitter's position can be traced back to Flemish models and that the vertical slices of columns flanking the panel had precedence in Flemish portraiture. Art historian Susan Woods Marsden points to Hans Memling's portrait of Benedetto Portinari, 1487, or Italian imitations such as Sebastiano Minardi's pendant portraits for the use of a loggia, which creates a separation between the sitter and the distant landscape, a feature absent in Leonardo's earlier portrait of Ginevra de' Benci. The painting is one of the first Italian portraits to depict the sitter against an imaginary landscape. Leonardo was one of the first painters to use aerial perspective. The enigmatic woman sits in what appears to be an open loggia with dark pillar bases on either side. Behind her stretches a vast landscape, receding to icy mountains, winding paths, and a distant bridge, with only subtle hints of human presence. Leonardo placed the horizon line at eye level, unlike in his portrait of Ginevra de' Benci, where it is at neck level. This choice connects the figure with the landscape and emphasizes the painting's mysterious nature. Silvano Vincini identified the background bridge as the four-arch Ramiro di Laterina Bridge, an Etruscan Roman structure near Laterina, Arezzo, over the Arno River. Other bridges with similar arches, but more arches have been suggested as possible locations. Some observers see similarities with the Azzone-Visconti Bridge. The Mona Lisa has no clearly visible eyebrows or eyelashes, despite Vasari's detailed description of them. In 2007, French engineer Pascal Cot, using ultra-high-resolution scans, claimed that the Mona Lisa was initially painted with eyelashes and eyebrows, but they faded over time, possibly due to overcleaning. Cott's research also revealed that the painting had been reworked several times, with changes made to the face's size and the gaze's direction. One layer depicted the subject with hairpins and a pearl-adorned headdress, later scrubbed out and overpainted. Much speculation surrounds the painting's model and landscape. For example, Leonardo likely painted his model faithfully, as her beauty is not considered exceptional, even by late 15th century standards. Some Eastern art historians, like Yukio Yashiro, argue that the background landscape was influenced by Chinese paintings, but this thesis lacks clear evidence. Professor Margaret Livingstone of Harvard University found in 2003 that Mona Lisa's smile disappears when observed with direct, foveal vision. This is due to the human eye's difficulty in processing shadows directly. Peripheral vision, however, picks up shadows well. Research in 2008 by a geomorphology professor at Urbino University and an artist-photographer suggested that Mona Lisa's landscape resembled views from the Montefeltro region in the Italian provinces of Pesaro and Urbino and Rimini. Further research in 2024 by geologist and art historian and Pizzarusso suggests that the landscape contains recognizable features of Lecco on the shores of Lake Como. The Mona Lisa is the only portrait by Leonardo da Vinci whose authenticity has never been seriously questioned. It is one of 4 works, along with St. Jerome in the Wilderness, Adoration of the Magi, and The Last Supper, whose attribution has avoided controversy. Leonardo began working on Lisa del Giocondo's portrait by October 1503. Some believe the painting was started in Florence in 1503 or 1504. The Louvre states it was likely painted between 1503 and 1506, but art historian Martin Kemp notes the difficulty in confirming the dates with certainty. Alessandro Vezzosi believes the painting reflects Leonardo's style in his later years, post-1513. Other academics argue that historical documentation points to the painting being created from 1513. Vasari claims that Leonardo left it unfinished after working on it for 4 years. In 1516, King Francis I invited Leonardo to work at the Clos Luce near the Château d'Amboise. It is believed that Leonardo took the Mona Lisa with him and continued to work on it after moving to France. Art historian Carmen C. Bambach concludes that Leonardo likely continued refining the work until 1516 or 1517. Leonardo's right hand became paralyzed around 1517, which may explain why he left the Mona Lisa unfinished. Around 1505, Raphael created a pen-ending sketch of the Mona Lisa, in which the flanking columns are more prominent. Experts agree that this sketch is based on Leonardo's portrait. Other later copies, like those in the National Museum of Art, Architecture and Design, and the Walters Art Museum, also show large flanking columns. This led to the belief that the Mona Lisa had been trimmed. However, by 1993, Frank Zollner observed that the painting's surface had never been trimmed, which was confirmed by tests in 2004. Vincent de Leuven, curator of 16th-century Italian painting at the Louvre, suggests that the sketch and other copies must have been inspired by another version. Zollner, on the other hand, posits that the sketch may be based on another Leonardo portrait of the same subject. A record of a visit by Louis d'Aragon in October 1517 states that the Mona Lisa was painted for the deceased Giuliano de' Medici, Leonardo's steward at Belvedere, Vienna, between 1513 and 1516. This is likely an error. According to Vasari, the painting was created for the model's husband, Francesco del Giocondo. The uncertainty surrounding the painting's dating and commissioner, its fate after Leonardo's death in 1519, and the differing details in Raphael's sketch have led some experts to argue that Leonardo created 2 versions of the Mona Lisa. The hypothesized first portrait, featuring prominent columns, would have been commissioned by Giocondo around 1503 and remained unfinished in the possession of Leonardo's pupil and assistant Salai until his death in 1524. The second version, commissioned by Giuliano de' Medici around 1513, would have been sold by Salai to Francis I in 1518 and is the one currently at the Louvre. Others believe there was only one Mona Lisa, but disagree on its fate. A varnish was applied to the painting sometime in the 16th century. It was kept at the Palace of Fontainebleau until Louis XIV moved it to the Palace of Versailles, where it remained until the French Revolution. It has been on permanent display at the Louvre since 1797. After the French Revolution, the Mona Lisa was moved to the Louvre but briefly resided in Napoleon's bedroom in the Tuileries Palace. While not widely known outside the art world, the Mona Lisa gained recognition as a Renaissance masterpiece among a portion of the French intelligentsia in the 1860s. During the Franco-Prussian War, 1870 to 1871, the painting was moved from the Louvre to the Brest Arsenal. The Mona Lisa was still not well known to the general public in 1911. On August 21, 1911, the painting was stolen from the Louvre. Painter Louis Barraud reported the theft the next day. After initial confusion about whether the painting was being photographed elsewhere, the Louvre was closed for a week for investigation. French poet Guillaume Apollinaire fell under suspicion, was arrested, and imprisoned. He implicated his friend Pablo Picasso, who was also questioned, but both were later exonerated. The actual culprit was Vincenzo Peruggia, a Louvre employee who had helped build the painting's glass case. He stole the painting during regular hours, hiding in a broom closet and leaving with it concealed under his coat after the museum closed. Peruggia, an Italian patriot, believed that the painting should be returned to an Italian museum. He might have been motivated by an associate whose copies of the painting would increase in value after the theft. After keeping the Mona Lisa in his apartment for 2 years, Peruggia grew impatient and was caught trying to sell it to Giovanni Paggi, the director of the Uffizi Gallery in Florence. The painting was exhibited at the Uffizi Gallery for over 2 weeks before being returned to the Louvre on January 4, 1914. Peruggia served 6 months in prison for the crime and was hailed as a patriot in Italy. A year after the theft, Karl Decker, a journalist for the Saturday Evening Post, claimed to have met an alleged accomplice named Eduardo da Valfierno, who purportedly masterminded the theft. According to Decker, forger Yves Chaudron created 6 copies of the painting to sell in the U.S. while the original's location was concealed. Decker published this account in 1932. During World War II, the Mona Lisa was again removed from the Louvre and moved to various locations, including the Château d'Amboise, the Loc Dieu Abbey, Château de Chambord, and finally the Musée Ingres in Montauban. In recent decades, the painting has been temporarily moved to accommodate renovations at the Louvre on 3 occasions: 1992 to 1995, 2001 to 2005, and 2019. A new queuing system introduced in 2019 limits visitors' viewing time to approximately 30 seconds. On December 30, 1956, Hugo Ungaza Villegas, a Bolivian man, threw a rock at the painting, shattering the glass case and dislodging a speck of pigment near the left elbow. The painting was protected by glass because a man claiming to be in love with it had previously slashed it with a razor blade and tried to steal it. Bulletproof glass was then installed to prevent future attacks. On April 21, 1974, a woman sprayed red paint on the painting while it was on display at the Tokyo National Museum, protesting the museum's lack of access for disabled people. On August 2, 2009, a Russian woman, upset over being denied French citizenship, threw a ceramic teacup at the painting, shattering it against the glass enclosure. In both cases, the painting remained undamaged. On May 29, 2022, a man disguised as a woman in a wheelchair threw cake at the protective glass in an apparent climate change awareness effort. The painting was unharmed. The man was arrested and placed in psychiatric care. The Louvre filed a complaint, leading to an investigation. On January 28, 2024, 2 members of the environmentalist group Riposte Alimentaire, Food Retaliation, threw soup at the painting's protective glass, demanding the right to healthy and sustainable food and criticizing modern agriculture. In the early 21st century, French scientist Pascal Cot hypothesized that a hidden portrait existed beneath the painting's surface. Using reflective light technology beginning in 2004, he presented circumstantial evidence for his theory. Cot acknowledges that his investigation was conducted to support his hypotheses and should not be considered definitive proof. The underlying portrait appears to show a model looking to the side, lacking flanking columns, but does not align with historical descriptions. Both Vasari and Gian Paolo Lamazzo describe the subject as smiling, which contradicts Cot's supposed portrait. In 2020, Cot published a study claiming the painting has an underdrawing, transferred from a preparatory drawing using the Spalvero technique. The Mona Lisa has survived for over 500 years. An international commission in 1952 noted its remarkable state of preservation. The painting has never been fully restored, so its current condition is partly attributed to various conservation treatments. A 1933 analysis by Madame de Gironda revealed that earlier restorers had acted with restraint. Despite this, varnish applications had darkened the painting by the late 16th century, and an aggressive cleaning and revarnishing in 1809 removed some of the top paint layer, giving the face a washed-out appearance. Overall, the Mona Lisa has been well cared for, and despite concerns about the panel's warping, the 2004 to 2005 conservation team was optimistic about its future. The Mona Lisa was removed from its original frame at some point. The unconstrained poplar panel warped with humidity changes, causing a crack to develop near the top, extending down to the figure's hairline. Two butterfly-shaped walnut braces were inserted into the back of the panel between the mid-18th and early 19th centuries, stabilizing the crack. Between 1888 and 1905, or possibly during the theft, the upper brace fell out. A later restorer glued and lined the socket and crack with cloth. The painting is kept in a climate-controlled, bulletproof glass case with a humidity level of 50% plus or minus 10% and a temperature between 18 degrees Celsius 64 degrees Fahrenheit and 21 degrees Celsius 70 degrees Fahrenheit. A silica gel bed treated to provide 55% relative humidity compensates for humidity fluctuations. The Mona Lisa's poplar support expands and contracts with humidity changes, causing warping. To address this and prepare for an exhibit honoring Leonardo's 500th birthday, a flexible oak frame with beech crosspieces was added in 1951. This frame, used in addition to the decorative frame, exerts pressure to prevent further warping. The beech crosspieces were replaced with maple in 1970 due to insect infestation. In 2004 to 2005, a conservation team replaced the maple crosspieces with sycamore ones and added a metal crosspiece for scientific warp measurement. The Mona Lisa has had various decorative frames throughout its history. In 1909, art collector Comtesse de Behague donated the current Renaissance-era frame. The painting's edges have been trimmed to fit different frames, but no part of the original paint layer has been removed. The first recorded cleaning, revarnishing, and touch-up was in 1809 by Jean-Marie Hustel, who restored paintings for the Musée Napoleon. This involved cleaning with spirits, color touch-ups, and revarnishing. In 1906, Louvre restorer Eugene Denizard made watercolor retouches on damaged areas and varnished the edges to mask areas covered by an older frame. After the theft, in 1913, Denizard cleaned the painting without solvent and retouched scratches with watercolor. In 1952, the background varnish layer was evened out. Following the 1956 attack, restorer Jean-Gabriel Goulinat retouched the damaged left elbow with watercolor. In 1977, an insect infestation was discovered in the back of the panel due to the crosspieces. This was treated with carbon tetrachloride and ethylene oxide. In 1985, the spot was treated again with carbon tetrachloride as a preventative measure. On April 6, 2005, the painting was moved to a new location within the Louvre Salle d'Etats, displayed in a climate-controlled enclosure behind bulletproof glass. Since 2005, it has been illuminated by an LED lamp, with a new 20-watt LED lamp installed in 2013. This lamp minimizes infrared and ultraviolet radiation to protect the painting. The gallery renovation was funded by Japanese broadcaster Nippon Television. As of 2019, approximately 10.2 million people view the painting annually. The Louvre held a major exhibition of Leonardo's works from October 24th, 2019 to February 24th, 2020 to commemorate the 500th anniversary of his death. The Mona Lisa was not included due to its popularity, remaining on display in its gallery. In 2024, the painting will be moved to a separate room, requiring significant construction, including a new Louvre entrance and 2 basement rooms. This will allow visitors direct access to the painting, reducing queues. The Mona Lisa influenced contemporary Florentine painting even before its completion. Raphael, who visited Leonardo's workshop, incorporated elements of the portrait's composition and format in several works, such as Young Woman with Unicorn, circa 1506, and Portrait of Maddalena Doni, circa 1506. Later works by Raphael, including La Vallata, 1515-16, and Portrait of Baldassare Castiglione, c. 1514-15, continued to draw inspiration from Leonardo's painting. Zollner notes that the Mona Lisa became the definitive example of the Renaissance portrait, seen as both a likeness of a real person and an embodiment of an ideal. Early critics, like Vasari in the 16th century and André Filibian in the 17th century, praised the painting for its realism. By the mid-19th century, writers began to perceive the Mona Lisa as imbued with mystery and romance. Théophile Gautier described her in 1859 as a sphinx of beauty who smiles so mysteriously, while Walter Pater's 1869 essay portrays the sitter as older than the rocks among which she sits, possessing the secrets of the grave and the deep seas. By the early 20th century, some critics felt the painting had become overloaded with subjective interpretations and theories. Renaissance historian Bernard Berenson admitted he was glad to be rid of the painting after its 1911 theft, calling it an incubus. The avant-garde art world acknowledged the Mona Lisa's undeniable popularity, often creating modifications and caricatures. In 1883, Sapek, Eugene Butterly, exhibited Le Rire, an image of Mona Lisa smoking a pipe, at the Incoherence show in Paris. In 1919, Marcel Duchamp created LHOQ, a parody featuring a mustache and goatee on a cheap reproduction, with an inscription that sounds like Elle a chat au cul, she has a hot ass, when read aloud in French, implying sexual excitement. Rhonda R. Shearer suggests that the reproduction is partly modeled on Duchamp's own face. Surrealist artist Salvador Dali painted self-portrait as Mona Lisa in 1954. Andy Warhol created serigraph prints of multiple Mona Lisas titled 30 Are Better Than One after the painting's 1963 visit to the United States. French urban artist Invader has created mosaic versions of the Mona Lisa on city walls in Paris and Tokyo. The Mona Lisa is now considered the most famous painting globally, a destination painting, but its fame grew gradually. Initially part of King Francis I of France's collection, it was among the first artworks exhibited at the Louvre. Leonardo's reputation as a genius grew, and the painting's popularity increased in the mid-19th century when French intellectuals highlighted its mysteriousness. The 1878 Baedeker Guide called it the most celebrated work of Leonardo in the Louvre, but it was better known among intellectuals than the public. The 1911 theft and subsequent recovery brought worldwide attention to the Mona Lisa, significantly increasing public recognition. Throughout the 20th century, it became a subject of mass reproduction, merchandising, satire, and speculation. The French government lent the painting to the United States for display in New York City and Washington, D.C. from December 1962 to March 1963. It was transported on the new ocean liner SS France. An estimated 1.7 million people queued in New York to see the painting for a brief moment. While at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, a faulty sprinkler nearly drenched the painting, but the bulletproof glass case protected it. The painting was exhibited in Tokyo and Moscow in 1974. In 2014, the Louvre had 9.3 million visitors, with former director Henri Loiret estimating that 80% came solely to see the Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa was assessed for insurance at $100 million in 1962, equivalent to $770 million in 2023, effectively making it the world's most valuable painting at the time. The insurance was not purchased, Instead, more funds were allocated to security. French heritage law prohibits the sale of the Mona Lisa and other such artworks, as they are considered public property. The Mona Lisa has been depicted in numerous cultural works, including the 1915 opera Mona Lisa by German composer Max von Schilling's Point 26. Two 1930s films, The Theft of the Mona Lisa and Arsène Lupin about the theft. The 1950 song Mona Lisa, recorded by Nat King Cole. The 2011 song The Ballad of Mona Lisa by American rock band Panic! At the Disco. The 2018 song Mona Lisa by rapper Lil Wayne. The 2022 mystery film Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery depicting the destruction of the Mona Lisa. LEGO set Mona Lisa as part of their LEGO art theme, with 1503 pieces. Several early versions and copies of the Mona Lisa exist, including Prado Museum La Gioconda. This version, previously considered a work by Leonardo, is now thought to be by one of his pupils, possibly Salai or Melzi, executed concurrently with the original Mona Lisa. The painting's different perspective led to speculation that it formed part of the world's first stereoscopic pair, but this has been debunked. Isleworth Mona Lisa. This version, bought by an English nobleman in 1778 and rediscovered in 1913 by Hugh Blaker, was presented to the media in 2012 by the Mona Lisa Foundation. Scholarly consensus on its attribution to Leonardo is unclear. Hermitage Mona Lisa. This version, attributed to an unknown 16th century artist, is located in the Hermitage Museum. The Mona Lisa illusion refers to the perception that a subject in a photograph is looking directly at the viewer, regardless of the photograph's position. This illusion is named after the painting, which exhibits the same effect.